Geoengineering is arguably the most important topic of our time. The ongoing geoengineering programs on planet Earth literally hold life in the balance. All available data indicates that short of nuclear catastrophe, there is no greater nor a more immediate threat to all life on Earth than the ongoing global geoengineering programs. I hope all will examine the information in this presentation and do honest investigation on their own. This issue is of dire importance. Time is of the essence. The ongoing geoengineering global spraying programs must be brought to light and brought to a halt. These programs are shredding the ozone layer, completely disrupting the hydrological cycle, toxifying the airs, waters, and soils. All life is at stake. The gravity of these programs cannot be overstated. Please examine the data. Please do honest investigation after review of this presentation. My name is Dane Wigington. I'm the lead researcher and administration for the website geoengineeringwatch.org. The purpose of this short PowerPoint is to try to put some clarity onto the issue of global climate and geoengineering and the direction we are headed. There's great dispute right now amongst people who are arguing over whether the planet is warming or cooling. Even people who seem to believe geoengineering is going on somehow are not putting that into their equation and taking into account the fact that 20+% of the sun's direct rays are being blocked by geoengineering, that most storms are being artificially ice nucleated in order to cool air masses down. If geoengineering was taken out of the planet, the true damage done by these programs would be readily evident. The purpose of this short PowerPoint is to shed light on that issue. My goal with this PowerPoint is to inspire objective investigation and not knee-jerk reaction. First, where do the dots lead? Clearly, the U.S. military considers climate change to be the greatest threat they face, as acknowledged by this document. Yet, the geoengineering programs appear to be the single greatest factor fueling the fire. This video should silence some critics. Clearly, this aircraft can be seen spraying from nozzles from the wings. This footage was sent to us by people in Europe. There are other such videos available. Controversy as to whether or not spraying is being done at altitude should be silenced by such videos. Again, we have so much proof at this point that it is really beyond dispute that spraying is in fact going on in our skies above. What other documentation do we have to confirm that this spraying is actually going on? We have documents like Solar Radiation Management Governance Initiative, SRMGI, one among many documents that outline global geoengineering governance. We have another document here prepared by Representative Committee on Science and Technology hearing. Full spectrum dominance is the military's stated goal to control all aspects of global security. Geoengineering is a part of these goals. Here we have a document from January 2nd, 2013, Geoengineering Governance and Technology Policy. This is a congressional research document, 40 pages long. Again, the data is there confirming the existence of the geoengineering programs. Weather as a force multiplier, owning the weather in 2025. U.S. military document outlining the goal to control weather as a force multiplier. Again, yet one more dot in this puzzle that confirms the existence of these ongoing programs. Next, when trying to introduce this subject to others, semantics are extremely important. If one Googles the term chemtrail, the first thing you come to, not by accident, is chemtrail conspiracy theory. Geoengineering is the term that should be used primarily. Again, if one Googles chemtrail, then the person looking into this issue may decide to drop it at that point. Semantics matter. Here we have clearly not commercial traffic. Anybody that tries to claim this is just contrail activity and not particulate trails is simply not very awake at this point. Again, back to the semantics. If one Googles geoengineering, one comes to hard science and not conspiracy theory. Patent, stratospheric Welsbach seeding for reduction of global warming. This is one of about 150 such patents for various defense industry contractors. Describes exactly what we see in the air. The primary elements showing up on the ground are exactly what's showing up in lab tests around the globe. Global warming and global dimming. Global dimming, a term many should familiarize themselves with. The planet is literally encased in a cocoon of toxic metal reflective particulates. This is a result of geoengineering. This is what's one major factor in the skewing of the climate And this is causing some of the confusion with people who want to think the planet is cooling. Remove that toxic cocoon of aluminum and there would be no debate as to how much damage has been done to the climate. These are not stratocirrus clouds. These are aerosol clouds, the remnant of heavy aerosol spraying. Scientists seek to legitimize geoengineering while acknowledging its catastrophic effects. Geoengineering is the pharmaceutical cure for planet Earth with side effects that are far worse than the ailment itself. Geoengineering is fueling the fire. Geoengineering is warming the planet overall and decimating the entire web of life at the same time. Obama's geoengineering program, Poison from the Sky. Obama's science advisor, John Holdren, open advocate of geoengineering. Again, more trails that are clearly not commercial traffic. Clinically insane. It's important to remember we're not dealing with sanity in this equation. Those that think anything positive could be gained by flying thousands of jets around the globe, dumping toxic materials day in, day out, 24/7, clearly are not sane. The same people detonated 1,800 nuclear weapons around planet Earth. Not dealing with sanity in this equation in any sense. Mustard gas tested on soldiers via involuntary gas chambers. How many of these examples do we need to know that our rulers don't give a damn about us, our health, the state of the planet, or anything else but their own quest for power? Insane nuclear explosions. This is again is an example of those in power and what they do when that power is completely unregulated. World eternally contaminated by USDU, that's depleted uranium. This is used in the ammunition that the US and NATO powers are spreading around the globe, literally contaminating parts of the planet forever. People should investigate depleted uranium. Again, yet another example of those in power and their complete lack of sanity. Weather warfare. Weather warfare appears to be going on right now between the US and NATO powers, China and Russia on the other side of the fence. They are playing tug-of-war with the atmosphere, and the consequences will be total if it continues. Mechanics, airline executives, and doctors talk of Project Cloverleaf. Project Cloverleaf appears to be the outline for the use of commercial carriers to have further aircraft in the air to facilitate these programs, not implicating commercial pilots, but commercial aircraft have indeed been identified from the ground, leaving particulate trails. They appear to be part of these programs. Blue sky, it's what it should look like. We don't see it much anymore. This is what we see typically. A completely aerosol-covered sky. Everything they put up comes down. The entire web of life is being contaminated. Chemtrails, nanoaluminum, and neurodegenerative and neurodevelopmental effects by Russell Blaylock, internationally recognized neuroscientist. People should look up what he said on this issue. We are breathing what they are spraying. These nanoparticulates are so small they enter straight through the lung lining, go straight into the bloodstream where they adhere to our cell receptors. To give an idea of how small these particles are, this is a diagram of human hair. The blue dots against that hair are micron-sized particles. You can see how small they are compared to that hair. The particles we're dealing with in regard to geoengineering are 1,000 times smaller. Very difficult to get your arms around something so small. It's very destructive because it's so small. Again, Russell Blaylock, internationally recognized neuroscientist, warning of the dangers of geoengineering particulates. What's it doing to us? Alzheimer's. You see the graph goes straight up. Alzheimer's is increasing astronomically as of a few weeks ago, mid-April 2013. Latest statistics show 1 in 3 seniors dies with Alzheimer's and or dementia. Autism. This graph is not quite up to date. The current rate of autism in kids as of mid-April 2013 is 1 in 50. That's an increase of 10,000% since 1975. People should wonder why the hell that's happening. Morgellons, another ailment thought to be connected with the fallout from geoengineering. Again, the damage these programs are doing to our health cannot be quantified. Synergistic effects of environmental and heavy metal toxicity. Although these metals are highly toxic in and of themselves, when they're combined, toxicity increases radically. In the case of aluminum and mercury, when those two metals are combined, toxicity is thought to increase some 10,000%. Extremely lethal mix that we are being exposed to. HARP antenna array. In addition to the spraying and the damage that's doing, now we can add incredibly powerful radio frequency transmitters that are literally ripping holes in the atmosphere. The spraying makes the atmosphere more conductive, which makes these facilities more effective. Again, those in power seem to have no consciousness of the consequence of their actions to the planet themselves, or certainly not us. This is what clouds look like when they're being exposed to radio frequency. They aligned. We see this ever more frequently in our skies. Another article, the effects of HAARP on the ionosphere. Again, they're literally ripping the atmosphere apart with these facilities, these HAARP facilities, of which we believe there's at least 18 around the globe. This is a cloud that appears to have been hit with radio frequency. This is anything but natural. Again, what they are experimenting with is literally Earth's life support systems. Another cloud, same effect. Chemtrails, wireless, and you. These particulates are making our bodies more conductive. That makes our bodies more susceptible to all radio frequency signals. Cell phones, cell towers, smart meters, HAARP antenna facilities, so forth. So again, the walls are closing in from all sides in regard to the spraying and the damage it's doing to us, the environment, and the planet. History Channel airs proof HAARP weather manipulation is real and imminent. Again, yet more documentation of these radio frequency installations and what they're doing to the planet. Radical jet stream divergences. We see this happening more and more. The parade of winter snowstorms through the winter and spring of 2013 is yet more evidence of radical jet stream manipulation. They are hampering all Earth's natural life support systems. Another radio frequency exposed cloud. Project Lucy. This is the latest and insane experimentation from our government and our so-called scientists. This is an attempt to nuke with radio frequency signals the methane that is now saturating the atmosphere on planet Earth. They have no idea the consequences of this experiment, and yet they seem to be proceeding anyway. Again, Project Lucy should be investigated. More radio frequency exposed clouds. Chinese scientists create second artificial snowstorm in Beijing. People need to understand that these events, these winter events with artificially nucleated snow, is not natural. Snow should not fall at temperatures in the 40s and sometimes even 50-degree range. It's happening all the time. Amarillo, Texas just had May 1st a temperature of almost 100 degrees. It snowed the next day. These events are not natural. People should investigate artificial ice nucleation for weather modification. Again, patented more data on this process of artificially nucleating rainstorms and converting them to snowstorms. Geoengineered snowstorms wreaking havoc around the globe. Again, heavy, wet snow. This is a term coined by the Weather Channel. This snow is like concrete. It breaks trees, power lines, structures, because it's artificially heavy. And this is, again, becoming the norm around the planet as they continue to increase the spraying activity. What's it doing to the ozone layer? This is a graph of ozone over the planet from 1984 comparing to 1987. The blue images are holes in the ozone that are developing from the geoengineering programs. Geoengineering damaging the ozone is very well documented, should be investigated. Again, another article, unprecedented ozone hole opens up over Canadian Arctic. Media has reported Canadian scientists are being threatened with termination or worse if they speak to media about this developing and increasing ozone hole. Recent changes to Gulf Stream causing widespread gas hydrate destabilization. Methane released from the seafloor, another global game-changing event, appears to have been triggered. Geoengineering appears to be the most significant causal factor in this. Geoengineering alters upper-level wind currents, that alters ocean currents, that is pushing warm water into the Arctic, helping to thaw methane, which is releasing from the seafloor now. Again, wind patterns are greatly disrupted by geoengineering, and this is just one more aspect of the fallout from these programs. Arctic Methane Emergency Group stating planetary catastrophe is inevitable. They are correct about this in regard to the methane. Methane release is a global game-changing event, appears to be happening now. And their call for geoengineering is where they run off the rails, as if it has not been going on for 60 years and doing nothing but harm. These are holes created from methane, holes in the ice created from methane leaking from a lake floor. The East Siberian Shelf of the Arctic has been cited as having methane plumes coming from the seafloor a kilometer wide, much larger than these holes, and they're seeing thousands of these releases. Methane is saturating the atmosphere now. These are methane images of the planet from the left, going back to 2008, 2009, all the way to 2012, 2013 on the right. You can see the darker colors, sign of much increased methane. Another image of methane increase, 2008 on the left, 2011 on the right. Again, you see much darker colors, much more atmospheric saturation with methane. This is a diagram of a ship sinking. This is what's been happening in the Bermuda Triangle for decades. When methane releases from the seafloor, it aerates the water like a bottle of champagne. Ships have no buoyancy. They go to the bottom intact. This is, again, happening on a massive scale right now in the Arctic. This is changing our atmosphere by the day. Methane bubbles could sink ships, just more verification of what I've already stated. Rising Arctic ocean temperatures cause gas hydrate destabilization and ocean acidification. Again, geoengineering alters upper level wind currents. That's altering ocean currents. It's shredding ozone. That allows more of the sun's thermal energy to penetrate the ocean, thawing methane, releasing it from the seafloor. It acidifies the ocean as it migrates to the surface. Ocean acidification, also another global game-changing event. Would an Arctic methane release spell the end of human life on Earth? If it's enough, yes. All data indicates that mass methane explosion could, in fact, exterminate life on Earth. This is an issue that has great significance and should be investigated by all. What are climate change feedback loops? Feedback loops are climate scenarios in which, once they are triggered, they begin to feed on themselves. In the case of methane, as the ocean heats, and methane is released from the seafloor, that methane enters the atmosphere where it causes more heating, yet more methane releases. Again, this is just one more mechanism that geoengineering is helped to trigger and fuel. This is temperature graph. Again, there's great dispute about whether the climate is warming or cooling. This argument should not be about Al Gore or his carbon credit scams. It should be about the reality on the ground. If geoengineering was halted and the short-term cooling anomalies it creates, we have a much clearer picture of just how much damage geoengineering has done to the planet. Geoengineering needs to be halted. On the graph on the right, you see the temperatures are, in fact, increasing radically overall globally. Ocean acidification threatens biosphere collapse. No ocean life, no life on Earth. The ocean is the single greatest creator of oxygen on the planet. It is, in fact, in the process of collapsing now. Geoengineering is fueling that fire. Are our oceans on the brink of collapse? Yet more verification of what's happening in the oceans right now that mainstream media does not cover in any way, shape, or form. Fish die-off occurring more rapidly around the globe. There are some 400 plus dead zones around the globe in the ocean in which nothing lives. Hypoxic zones, no oxygen. This process is accelerating. We should all be direly concerned about this issue. More fish kill. Whales, same process. Though there are many environmental factors, a great many negatively affecting the oceans, the single greatest negative factor environmentally on the planet Earth right now appears to be geoengineering based on all available data. Half of SoCal sea lion pups have died this winter. Radiation has been implicated in some of this die-off, but lack of fish populations appears to be the other effect. Again, the oceans are on the brink of collapse as we speak. This is a graph relating to Arctic sea ice. It's important to look at the red part of this graph. Arctic sea ice is collapsing. In spite of what media would have us believe, we almost lost the Arctic ice cap in 2012. Likely it will be gone in 2013 or 2014. Media is doing everything they can to hide this. As the Arctic ice is lost, it further increases the methane expulsion. Again, the positive feedback loop starts to feed on itself. Another graph of Arctic sea ice lost. The innermost ring is where we're at today. Arctic sea ice mass is 19% of what it was 30 years ago. Again, further declining Arctic sea ice. What the hell is happening to the Arctic sea ice? Yet more documentation that's not being covered by mainstream media. New concerns about climate change and the boreal forest. Boreal forests are northern latitude forests. They are the terrestrial lungs of the planet. They are dying. Geoengineering appears to be by far the single greatest causal factor here. Not only is geoengineering blocking the sun, altering photosynthesis, shredding the ozone layer, creating much more UV intensity for the trees, the rain is laden with toxic metal particulates that are bioavailable. That's in effect poisoning the trees. Now we have droughted out conditions. Geoengineering absolutely causes drought, so we have much less rain. The rain that falls is toxic. Boreal forests are dying. This is reducing global oxygen content as well. More dead trees. What's killing the great forests of the American West? Again, media is not covering this issue. The forests are in fact dying very rapidly. This can't be hidden for long. This is a graph that shows heavy metal contamination of U.S. rivers, lakes, and waterways. Again, you see the graph going steadily up. We believe all data indicates this is clearly a result of the ongoing global geoengineering. Chemtrails and Monsanto's new aluminum-resistant gene. Coincidence? We don't think so. As geoengineering poisons soils around the globe, Monsanto is there to engineer their aluminum-resistant seeds. What a coincidence. Geoengineers pull off toxic cooldown. Again, another article that elaborates on the parade of winter storms created across the U.S. and other parts of the globe, especially in recent months, that are clearly geoengineered, incredibly radical temperature fluctuations. Recently, as I outlined earlier, in the case of Amarillo, Texas, from almost 100 degrees to snow in one day. These events are not natural. Drought created by geoengineering. This is also scientifically not disputed. When you saturate the atmosphere with particulates, you cause drought, period. You block the sun, which decreases evaporation, you alter wind currents, and you prohibit drops from combining and falling as rain, so moisture continues to migrate. This is creating global drought. Aerosol spraying off the western coast of the U.S. You see large loops in this image. Commercial traffic doesn't make such loops, and as they blanket spray the eastern Pacific, that completely alters the hydrological cycle, the rain cycle. This is in effect cutting off the rain to much of the U.S. Geoengineering and global drought. The planet is warmer. No science disputes this. We should have more rain, not less. The only explanation for the reduction of rainfall is the atmospheric saturation of geoengineering particulates. The science is clear on the effect of these particulates. People should investigate. This map shows the late spring, early summer forecast for the continental U.S. for 2013. As you see the upper graph, blue colors in the Pacific Northwest, darker colors toward the southeast. That indicates warmer areas in the southeast, cooler in the Pacific Northwest. The lower graph indicates below normal rainfall across the whole western U.S. Again, as they saturate the Pacific with particulates, they diminish the storm formation and evaporation. This diminishes rainfall. So in an attempt to try to cool parts of the U.S. with geoengineering, they greatly hamper the hydrological cycle, the rain cycle, and overall they create more warming in the attempt to create short-term cooling. U.S. Drought Monitor. You see protracted drought in spite of a warmer climate. You see a very defined line where that drought changes. Again, the rain from the west is being migrated further east. This is part of the geoengineering manipulation, so you have areas that do not have drought, but much of that rain that fell further east should have fallen in the west. It was migrated with geoengineering particulates. Protracted drought, again, happening around the globe. High-stakes fight over water rights. Is this one of the reasons they're droughting out the West? They're also pursuing water rights, the government is, to try to control water supplies. This controls populations. Again, yet one more agenda item for the ongoing geoengineering programs. Chemtrails have increased electrical conductivity in the atmosphere. As the atmospheric conductivity increases, lightning increases. Very bad mix for the forests again. They are being droughted out. The rain that does fall is toxic. The trees are dying. Now we have increased lightning because of the increased conductivity. Forests are burning up around the globe. Siberia lost almost 100 million acres last year to fire. The U.S. lost 10 to 11 million. And the outlook is getting worse by the day for forest fires. More lightning strikes. Inside insurance. Lightning strikes on the increase. Again, more fallout from the geoengineering programs. Now, this graph refers to global atmospheric oxygen. It is declining rapidly as the oceans collapse, as the boreal forests collapse and burn. The Earth's oxygen generating mechanisms are being severely thwarted. Oxygen supply is plummeting globally. Again, all roads lead back to geoengineering. More fish die-off. It's happening around the globe. Oxygen depletion, the next great environmental scare. Mainstream media simply doesn't cover this, nor do they cover any of the dire elements unfolding around us. many if not most related to geoengineering. No oxygen, no life on Earth. Graph of U.S. wildfires, again, rapidly increasing, as mentioned earlier. Past and present trends in ecosystem loss, species variability declining rapidly, biodiversity declining rapidly. Media also does not talk about this. Species extinction rate since 1800. You see the graphs going straight through the roof according to the latest data. Species extinction today is approaching some 200 a day. This is 10,000 times background extinction. That's 1,000,000% of normal. We are in the 6th great mass extinction now. The Earth's 6th great mass extinction is occurring as you read this. Again, more documentation to verify this data. Geoengineering, runaway climate change, and the poisoning of life on Earth. Another article that documents the overall horrific effects of geoengineering to the entire web of life on the planet. Raytheon, defense contractor, along with Lockheed Martin, they also control all weather disseminating agencies. Raytheon does all the modeling for the National Weather Service and NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We have the people making the weather, doing all the weather modeling. This is essential. They control the message, or people would be able to connect the dots and realize the weather they see happening around them is anything but normal. This is the foxes literally running the henhouse. Rothschild's Weather Channel buys weather underground. The Rothschilds' empire seems to be at the top of the food chain with all weather disseminating agencies. Rothschilds are connected to the ownership of Weather Channel, Weather Central, Weather Underground. Again, they must control the message. They must control the meteorologists that disseminate that message in order to help hide the tracks of the increasingly freak weather events connected to geoengineering. Rothschilds and geoengineering empire, again, another article confirming that ownership. Whitney Reader, U.S. military explores geoengineering. We know geoengineering has been going on for some 6 decades, though the media would like us to believe it's just something that's being considered. Systemic denial of global geoengineering continues in spite of the mountain of evidence. We have absolutely every single dot connecting. Global dimming from the toxic cloud of particulates that floats over us all. We have global drought connected to geoengineering. We have documents, extensive documents for global governance of geoengineering. We have tests from around the globe confirming the fallout of geoengineering. We have ozone destruction, also known to be connected with geoengineering, happening on a massive scale. Again, there is no plausible denial of these programs for any that investigate. Good old Al Gore, the hypocrite who has done more harm for the cause he pretends to champion. He has greatly muddied the water with his hypocrisy and his scams. So people should not confuse reality on the ground with Al Gore's hypocrisy. Are we the experiment? Here are the facts, you decide. This is a flyer that was circulated in many parts of the country, started in Northern California. In fact, we all are part of a grand and very lethal experiment. This is what our skies often look like now. They should not look like this, and the only thing that can make them look like this is an atmosphere full of toxic metal particulates. Global geoengineering fueling Venus syndrome. This is the track we are on. This is where we will end up if we continue on this track. Venus syndrome is self-explanatory. It's when runaway greenhouse effect feeds on itself until the planet no longer supports life. This is a scientific scenario, not a metaphor. Geoengineering is helping to fuel this scenario. It appears to be the single largest causal factor in climate disruption at this time. The planet's encased in a cocoon of toxic metal particulates. This is shredding the ozone layer, thwarting the hydrological cycle. This is contributing to the forests burning, the acidification of the ocean, the methane mass expulsion occurring now, the toxification of all life on Earth, including every breath we take. Geoengineering must be brought to light, must be brought to a halt. This photo is what the sky looks like now. Most people don't even look up anymore. The sky could literally be on fire. I think many would not notice, but they'll notice soon because the Earth's life support systems are literally coming unhinged. It's up to all of us to bring these programs to light. All depends on this. Based on all available data, we believe geoengineering to be the greatest and most immediate threat faced by life on Earth short of nuclear catastrophe. The walls are closing in quite quickly. The damage being done by geoengineering is manifesting itself by the day. It's imperative that we all educate ourselves on this issue, Arm yourself with credible data. Flyers, for example, can be found on the website geoengineeringwatch.org. You can modify these flyers. You can make your own. Have credible data to pass on to people. Don't run out in the street, rant, and point at the sky. This doesn't help. People need credible data to go on in order to really digest this issue. You can locate groups, organizations, and individuals that would care if they had a clue these programs were going on. Send them credible data. Send them a source for more information. Again, all rests on this issue. It's up to all of us to bring it to light, not just a few of us. If we all pull together, we can reach critical mass. If we reach critical mass, those that are participating in these programs will likely refuse, at least enough of them will refuse. We can bring these programs to a halt. Once those participating understand what they're a part of, once their families understand, their peers understand, again, this is our best chance to bring these programs to a halt. The government system and all the regulating agencies, air quality, water quality, politicians, they are bought, sold, and paid for. Only by reaching critical mass of awareness can we have a real chance of stopping these programs. Please help us. It's up to all of us. Thank you. geoengineeringwatch.org.